Mark chapter 11 verse 27, the last time Jesus had been in Jerusalem was to cleanse the temple. He'd overturned tables, money everywhere, running people out, making a whip and running out the animals. It was mayhem, it was violence, it was a big scene, all because they had disgraced and they had blasphemed his Father by turning his house of prayer, something that was meant to have a spiritual purpose, into a stockyard and a money exchange. But now he's back in Jerusalem, he's in the temple, and he's preaching. And the Jewish leaders, they're livid. They have a question for him in verse 28. They said, "By what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you this authority to do these things?" In other words, who gave you the right to come in here to our temple and to tell us how to run things? They're calling on Jesus to name his credentials. I think it's a legitimate question. And Jesus would have answered them if they would have been honest in their asking. So Jesus gives them a question. He says, if you're honest in answering that question, then I'll answer your question. So look at Jesus' question in verse 29. The baptism of John, was it from heaven or from men? And how did they answer? They didn't answer. They were thinking more like the politician. They were more concerned about the consequences of their answer than they were about the truthfulness of their answer. And so they really revealed their own hypocrisy. But Jesus didn't ask this question to show them up. He asked this question so that he could lead them to answering their own question. Because if they answered this question honestly, they would know the truth. They would know that Jesus had authority from God. And so is it from heaven, is it from God, or is it from man? When it comes to authority, those are the only two possible sources. There's not a third one. We can't vouch out of authority and say, well, authority doesn't matter. When we do, we make ourselves our own source of authority. So there's only two possible sources when we're talking about authority in anything that we do: God or man. In fact, Paul said in Colossians 3 verse 17, he says, whatever you do in word and in deed, do all in the name of the Lord. In the name of means in the authority of. How do we know that we're doing something in the authority of Jesus? Well, if it's found in the Bible, 2 Timothy 3 verse 16 and 17, all scripture is given by inspiration, is profitable for doctrine, reproof, correction, instruction in righteousness. The man of God may be complete, thoroughly equipped for every good work. And so if it's found in the Bible, then it's from God. If it's not found in the Bible, then the authority's from man. Granted, there are times when the nature of God's communication allows us to make choices in the matter. But there's still a foundational principle of why do we do what we do and who gave us the authority to do it? Does it come from God or does it come from man? We need to ask that when it comes to religious practices. The things we do in our worship, the practices of the church, our preaching and our teaching, does it come from the authority of God or are we following the authority of man? When it comes to our own personal lives, our parenting, our marriages, our relationship choices, our word choices, are we following after the authority of God or are we following the authority of man? Christ is the author of our salvation and he ought to be the ultimate authority of everything that we do. He is the head of the church. He has been given all authority in heaven and on earth. And he is our Lord, and we just need to follow the things that he says to do.